Hey, what's going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my show, JJ's One Man Podcast. This is normally a Patreon exclusive show that I do for everybody that supports me over on my Patreon page. Links in the description box below. But this time, I'm actually going to do this episode and make it public to everybody to check it out. Because if you guys didn't know, I'm actually recording this early in the morning now on September 15th. This is the start of National Hispanic Heritage Month. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, if you guys haven't seen this on social media already, from September to October, everybody celebrates their Hispanic heritage in a variety of different ways on social media. They spotlight a lot of different creators, a lot of different celebrities, and people that are doing stuff and have some sort of Hispanic background or Hispanic heritage to them. So for me, I decided, you know what, for the first time for this year, I'm actually going to do a couple different things across various different places, make podcasts, make videos, write up some stuff, and share with everybody, talking about and getting into and celebrating the fact that I am Hispanic and that other people are Hispanic and join in on the celebration with everybody. Now, for me personally, in case you guys didn't know, and because again, I don't really talk about it so openly as much, I am Hispanic, I am Puerto Rican, I'm pure blood Puerto Rican, I am Boricua, for a lot of people that know what that means. If you don't know what that means, basically is that you're basically an American who is Puerto Rican or you have Puerto Rican descent or Puerto Rican heritage. For me, I'm pure blood Puerto Rican because I have two Puerto Rican parents, and their parents are also, and their parents and their grandparents are from the island. And they came here to the United States. I grew up in New York, and then I moved down here to Florida. So the whole reason why I'm doing an episode on this and making it public, for the celebration and stuff, because I don't really talk about it as much, I feel like this is as perfect a time as any to kind of give my perspective and give a little food for thought on this. Now, I'm probably one of the very few Puerto Ricans that are in the games media or in the games industry that is, again, done a bunch of different stuff and is interactive with various different people of all backgrounds. I have yet to really find a lot of other people that are of Puerto Rican heritage in the games media or in the gaming industry. The variety of people that I do interact with that are Hispanic, I know that Danny Pena from Gamertag Radio is Hispanic. I believe he's Cuban. I could be wrong. Please don't hurt me, Godfrey, if I got that wrong. I know my friend P. Rock is also Hispanic. I never really asked him which one he was. There's a lot of different variations of Hispanic out there. Much like that, again, there's a lot of different variations of people that are African American that, again, from depending on which country or place that you come from, there's a lot of different types of flavors, I guess you could say, of Hispanic. And it's kind of weird to say that. I understand that, but bear with me. We're just doing this just for this conversation here. So for me, what does it mean to be Hispanic in the games industry, in the games media? For me, I love kind of, relating and finding parallels to some stuff that I've seen from someone like Bruce Lee, and the way that he has his perspective on being Asian American or being Chinese. I have a very similar approach and very similar take on it when it comes to being Hispanic. And his approach, for a lot of you that don't know, if you're not a fan of Bruce Lee or if you never really listened to him talk about certain things like this, he always said that when he was always proud to be Asian American, he was always proud to be Chinese. But first and foremost, he was a person of the world. He was a human being before anything else. And I find that to be very admirable take on the whole issue. Because no matter what you are, no matter what race or background you come from, you are a human being. You are part of this industry. He goes, under the skies and the heavens, there's but one family. And I think that's a very beautiful, very beautiful saying for a lot of people that really should kind of explore that a little bit more, especially when it comes to issues of race. But to kind of relate it back to how I look at stuff and how I approach things in the games media and the games industry, I find that to be very cool because it allows me to kind of, have this open-mindedness to interact with just about anybody within the gaming media. If you love video games, if you are part of the games media, if you're out there talking about and discussing gaming, as an art form, as a medium, as a thing to have fun with, I could have a conversation with you. I feel like we can interact, we could have fun. Even if you have a negative outlook on certain video game stuff, I feel like there's still potential there to have a discussion, to have an interaction, to be, have a communication there. Because again, I'm not someone that really discriminates, based on backgrounds or anything of the sort. I don't discriminate at all. I think that people that do so, whether it's discriminating Hispanics, discriminating people of color, discriminating, sexual preference, and all these different stuff, that's very destructive, and that doesn't do anything to help any issue whatsoever. So you have to have an open mind like that. And I feel like that's something where, as an individual, someone who is Hispanic, since we're talking about Hispanic Heritage Month, that's something I feel like I could have as a good way to kind of approach my own craft and my own lane and my own type of stuff that I get into that is part of my career, my professional career, and part of my legacy. like that. People will always be able to say that no matter what the instance was, I always approach things from a genuine and open-minded place. And I feel like I could really represent not just myself, but also the Hispanic community. It's someone that, again, who is Hispanic, that has some sort of connection to that culture with dignity, with respect, with professionalism, and a lot of other different things. Now, alongside of all that, there is some other things I do want to touch on when it comes to being Hispanic, being a person of color in any sort of industry, but I really apply this to the games industry. One of the things I was always very adamant about, and one of the main reasons why I don't really talk about being Hispanic so much, and I don't try to put it out there, is because I always have this little bit of a fear where I'm going to be a little bit obnoxious about it or get caught up in this stereotypical discussion about that, where you find a lot of people that get into race and a lot of people that get into heritage, whether they're Hispanic, whether they're African American, whether they're whatever type of background. They're always trying to say that, oh, they want to represent the culture, they want to represent their people, they want to represent all this different stuff, and they want that community to really get behind them and rah-rah and stuff, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that per se, but people get too caught up on that and they make that like the sole driving force of everything that they do and everything that they say and everything that they present. And I never wanted that for myself. I'm proud to be Hispanic. I'm proud to be Puerto Rican. I have that pure blood within me, that fiery passion and all this other stuff that gets associated with it. But I never wanted to be that as the defining trait of what I do or who I am or what types of discussions I have or type of topics and work and all this other stuff within my backlog of like content that I make. I never wanted that to be the sole focus on everything. I wanted to acknowledge it. I wanted to understand and be known that that's something that is part of me, but not solely me, which I feel like people get too lost in sometimes. You find it in a variety of different places, but still, for me, I always felt that was a good way to approach it because it wins on all sides. It's a good way to represent yourself, a good way to show people who you are and kind of express yourself honestly, which is another big Bruce Lee thing, by the way. But also show that, again, because I am of this heritage, I am of this type of background and this race, this kind of like, descendants. I have Puerto Rican descendants, that go all the way back through some of the people that have done various different things with the Spanish culture. There's, the name Lugo, or at least the last name Lugo, is said in some things that I've explored and looked at to be kind of connected to some sort of royalty back in Spain, because you had the conquistadors, the Spaniards that came to Puerto Rico, and then everybody that was there came here to the United States. There's some sort of legacy and bloodline there that's a connection to that. Apparently, even my bloodline might even be connected to a king from way, way back. That's not to brag, but like there's a lot of different stuff that comes with all this stuff. But before any of that and before any of the other craziness that people could get lost in, I am still a human being and still a person that's an individual in the here and now. So anyway, I know that's a lot to swallow. I know that's a lot to get into. It gets pretty crazy, very off the rails and stuff. But another thing I do want to touch on is a little bit about racism, about being Hispanic, in my interactions with people in the games and media, outside of just people that are also Hispanic. A lot of people have talked about racism. A lot of people have talked about what it means to be a person of color in any industry and stuff. And I've yet to really find an instance with me, regarding and involving me specifically, where that's gone to the extreme. I've yet to be kind of, be discriminated against or anything of the sort within the games industry or the gaming media. Thank God, knock on wood. Hopefully I don't have to deal with that. But I do have friends that have dealt with that in some sort of case. There's some of those extreme instances where there's been pretty bad stuff and people have kind of acted really crappy and stuff. And you have to do what you can to kind of overcome that and also get around that with some dignity, because there are some scumbag people out there in the world, but you got to be better than them. You have to show people there's a better way to live than to go about all that different type of stuff. But for me, again, back on, me individually, I've yet to really kind of deal with that type of stuff as of yet. But one of the things I can say is that, regardless of whatever background you might have and the way that I've done stuff, is that I've always had an open mind. I've always had a cool head, and I've always felt like whatever I've done, whether it's games content, whether it's just like interacting and interviewing people and stuff, I've always dealt so from a very genuine place. I could always say that no matter what, whether it's people that are Hispanic looking at me or other people outside of the Hispanic culture looking at me, they could always look at me and say like, yo, he was a cool dude. He did something that was pretty damn awesome. He did a lot of great stuff, a lot of positive stuff for his own community, for his own industry, for his own grouping of people that he likes to associate with. He was a really cool dude that did a lot of good stuff. I know I got tongue twisted there. But anyway, Besides that, one other thing I do want to mention before I kind of end this off, and this is kind of, I guess you could call it a little bit of reverse racism. A lot of people that don't know what that means, some people associated that with people of color being racist or being discriminatory towards Caucasian people. That's not really what it means to me, or at least the examples I've seen in my life. Reverse racism is where people of your own race really kind of, discriminate against you or kind of condescend you for not fitting a certain stereotype that they feel represents the race. That's, in my case, for Hispanics that I've seen over time, which I think is wrong, is where they get caught up on the language, where they want you to speak Spanish so much and they think that that's like the defining trait of what it means to be Hispanic, that they condescend or they really give you the evil eye if you have trouble speaking Spanish or you don't talk to them in Spanish. And I think that's wrong. I think that's messed up because people of a certain heritage, whether it's Hispanic or otherwise, it goes beyond, far beyond just the language that you speak. I speak a lot of English, and even though I know a little bit of Spanish, I'm not fluent in it because foreign language was a subject that I always struggled with. I always found myself excelling at other subjects, but really foreign languages never really clicked with me. But because I don't speak Spanish that well, there's been some Spanish people in my life that have really kind of given me the evil eye and looked down upon me in some certain way, and I felt like that was not cool, that was wrong, and they were coming from a very disingenuous place because they're so caught up on keeping the bloodline or keeping the culture pure with just our language or making sure that it doesn't go away, that they forget about all this other stuff that an individual can offer and all this other stuff that a person like me can do. So for me, again, that's something that I've seen pop up here and there, and I think that's wrong, and I think that people really need to check themselves in that regard when it comes to that type of stuff. You don't really see a lot of African Americans getting caught up because certain people don't speak any sort of African language from that country or anything else of the sort. You don't see, Caucasian people being super pissed off, especially if they're like Scottish or from Ireland or anything of the sort, doing certain things that fit that stereotype. Here in the United States, don't look down upon that. And I think that's wrong because obviously there's a lot of different flavors and variations of different types of races and people. So for Spanish people, for people that are Hispanic, I feel like that's something that we kind of got to really kind of address at some point and really kind of move beyond and get over, because I think that's very destructive. It's like, you don't want to put peer pressure. There's nothing wrong learning the language and keeping that alive. I think that's great, but you shouldn't make that as like a thing that's like the first and foremost priority of everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's a little bit crazy, a little bit stupid. But regardless though, that's just my thoughts on what it means to be Hispanic or, being Hispanic in the games industry, in the gaming culture. There's a lot of other things that get associated with it. You get into YouTube discussions. I know there's a lot of people out there that are YouTubers that really, outside of gaming, they get into other subjects and stuff, and they're Hispanic of different variations. Again, you got Puerto Rican, Cuban, Bolivian, Dominican, Guatemalan, there's a whole bunch out there. Mexican, there's a lot of different variations of us out there. And one thing that we all have in common, at least that we all have an association with, is that we love our own heritage. We love our background. We love our, the different types of different types of bloodlines and different types of hereditary stuff that comes along with it. Our legacies, our own countries, our own variations of cultures where we have roots in. There's a lot of cool stuff that comes with that. But one of the things I always felt that was cool, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, was this idea of passion. A lot of people really kind of stereotype that with, romantic love and stuff. And I think it goes beyond that. For us Hispanics, passion could really mean just like, excelling in a certain type of like discipline, a certain type of way or way of doing things, or a certain type of like stuff that you give to the world, whether it's making content or having discussions or conducting yourself in a certain way. We're really passionate about that. We really put our all into that. And I always felt like, for me, I have a lot of that in me. And I found that that's always been an admirable character trait for people that are Hispanic. And you could see that in many different ways all over the place. There's other things too. And I think also romantic love is good for people of all races. I think we could all relate to that in some way, but that was just one of the things that really kind of stuck out to me, being Puerto Rican, being Hispanic, and really kind of having that background from a lot of different people and interacting with a lot of different people that have a similar background to myself. So anyway, I'm rambling at this point. I know I'm kind of going off the rails with it. I figured this will be just a fun little discussion to kind of throw out there for you guys. And again, for Hispanic Heritage Month, I'm going to make this public for everybody on YouTube to enjoy, to share around, to have these discussions. Let me know what's up in the comments down below. Again, if you are Hispanic, or if, again, people who are Hispanic and you have some sort of, thing you want to say about all this, feel free to put it down in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like on this video as well, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, please, if you guys can. Spread word word about it. I want to try to see if we could get even more subscribers on the channel, doing more bigger and better content. Again, I'm slowly growing. It's taking a lot of time here and there as I start to upload more content, more game reviews, more vlogs, more podcast episodes like this one. Again, hopefully you guys take a liking to it and share with everybody else, and we could all just join up and make a cool community here on my YouTube channel. So if you guys want to get more episodes of this show, JJ's One Man Podcast, all you have to do is just pledge to my Patreon page at the $1 level or higher. Every single pledge level, you guys are going to get all the episodes of JJ's One Man Podcast every single week. If you want to see one of the other episodes I've done, the pilot episode of this show, it's on my Patreon page right now. Again, if you go from the $1 level or higher, you'll be able to check it out. It's actually about the struggle of being in the games media or trying to be part and work in the gaming media. I got into a whole big discussion about that as my first episode. I want to make sure that this show goes beyond just gaming and kind of opens up the floodgates to a bunch of different topics. Gaming is always still going to be like a huge part of my life, but I still have opinions and thoughts and food for thought that I can share with you guys on a variety of different subjects. Maybe at some point I'll do something random in one of the episodes and talk about Star Wars, or talk about gaming, talk about movies, talk about food, something crazy, traveling, different stuff that I feel like this show could really excel at and giving you guys something different and a variation of what you guys normally see here on this YouTube channel. But anyway, happy Hispanic Heritage Month, guys. Everybody out there that's, checking it out, joining in the celebration, talking about it on social media. Share this episode if you guys can. I'll probably put on the hashtags both in the title, description, and share it on social media with everybody so y'all can check it out. But anyway, I will see you guys on the next episode. I will see you guys on the next video. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.